It was a cold winter night in 1993, and we were hanging out in Helena, Arkansas, having poured Jack and Cokes all around. I was flipping through my rockabilly DJ friend Mike's enviable collection of blues CDs. "You ever been to a juke joint?" his wife Darla asked. "No," I replied, looking at the CD jacket I was reading. "Why not?" I was there in the land of the blues, but my path hadn't crossed a juke joint, and I hadn't gone looking for one. Junior Kimbrough's was closed that night, and just as well, because it's a long drive to Tullahoma, Mississippi. So we set out for Margaret's Blue Diamond Lounge in Clarksdale. "But I haven't finished my drink," I said. "Don't worry," Darla said, "they don't bust white people down here." It had all begun a year earlier with an interview in Little Rock, where a bespectacled lady on the far side of a wide conference table aggressively questioned my Yankee-accented ability to provide a meaningful teaching experience in the Mississippi Delta, a flat stretch of land between Memphis and Vicksburg with ultra-fertile soil that makes it a really fine place for growing cotton and music. "How would you apply your fiber arts, your quilting and basketry to the Black experience, to a Black student in the Delta?" she tested. "Well," I said thoughtfully and sincerely, "I'd tell them about the quilts that their ancestors stitched, how those quilts had to function as both coat and bedroll when the Civil War ended and the slaves left the plantations. I'd tell them about the colors of Africa that were sewn into those quilts, the oranges vibrating with the searing African sun, the greens remembering the lush African vegetation. And the baskets? Well, I'd tell them about the gullah baskets that the slaves wove during mosquito-infested summers on the eastern seaboard, just exactly like the baskets of West Africa, tightly coiled sweetgrass, stitched with palmetto." Shortly thereafter, I was officially in Arkansas Artisan Education, sharing the first of many teaching residencies on the Arkansas side of the river. I was staying with a sweet couple from Mariana who gave me free room and board. I remember the clear, sunny mornings in September when I drove south along Route 1 and then west on Highway 49. The last ghosts of summer rose up on the lingering mist, hovering over fields of ripening cotton, then drifted off toward Crowley's Ridge. I had the windows rolled down, and sometimes I'd pull over to pencil a few lines of poetry with fresh feelings of joy that swelled my heart to be here in this place at this time in my life. Poetry that would eventually end up stamped along the borders of my Quilting with the Blues series. When I went home for the weekend, I sometimes stitched till 4 a.m., listening to Buddy Guy and Eric Clapton until I shut off my studio light and crunched down the gravel path in the moonlight, my eyes aching all-nighter bloodshot red. Soon, it was the January night before Quilting with the Blues opened at the Delta Cultural Center. Roger and I were to stay with friends Darla and Mike in their bungalow in Helena. That's how, drinks in hand, we came to pile into Darla and Mike's beige and brown 1978 Cadillac Fleetwood 4-door hardtop with the cloth ceiling that was coming undone in the back so that it grazed the top of your head as you succumbed to its lush upholstered interior. Heading to a juke joint. Darla had on a retro white wool swing coat with a matching pillbox hat and white cat's eye glasses, her hair pinned up in a French twist. A Polaroid land camera hung from her wrist, loaded with fresh film. As we crossed the Helena Bridge at twilight, tugboats on the river were pushing barges to New Orleans slowly, carving through the deep black water. Red lights, winking, winking. We began slowly crisscrossing the back streets near the railroad tracks, looking for Margaret's Blue Diamond. "Take a right," said Darla. "I think it's down here." Without warning, a young Black man sprung out, pounding menacingly on the trunk of the car. "Hey, white boy," he challenged. Instantly, Darla turned around. "We're here, this is it," she said excitedly, paying no never mind to the young man's shout. Mike jammed on the brakes, fishtailing into the dusty parking lot, skidding to a halt before a weathered gray building that leaned under a rusty tin roof. There were no windows to bar. At the entrance, a guy with a clutch of money was working the door. He sneered. "What you want here, white boy?" Roger shrugged. "We came to listen to some good music," he said, matter-of-factly. Inside, a few naked bulbs illuminated mismatched dinette sets, three-legged chairs, two-legged tables, propped on three-legged tables, old black folks, young black folks, no white folks. Band was setting up near the door. We pulled together enough pieces to make a place for us to sit, fetched beers from the bar where Margaret was running the place single-handedly, sipped, sat back, expectant. Blues drummer Sam Carr, the son of legendary 30s blues guitarist Robert Nighthawk, was there that night. He came over to our table right away, shaking hands, telling us that we were welcome there and that he was happy that we came. "Have a good time," he said, his eyes sparkling. He was duded up in a slick suit and a felt fedora. Didn't take long before Roger was accosted by the local call girl's father, her father, mind you, who spoke of her lascivious menu, never mind that this was right there in front of me. She trotted by in her red high heels. Roger agreed to dance with her, but declined her other favors. The music began to play. When I returned from the restroom, a junkie was nodding off at the table next to us. A woman, Darla said it was his mother, came in and threw down a tiny square cellophane envelope. "Here," she said. Briefly alert, he swiped the white powder packet into his pocket. Darla began making her rounds with the Polaroid line camera, snapping flash photos of all the couples. She would wave the print in the air to dry, and then all heads would lean in, smiles wide, to see the results. Margaret was pouring Dixie cups of moonshine for $1 apiece. The music was getting louder. Mellow blues, followed by mournful, evocative blues. Hardcore blues. At about 11:45, local call girl's daddy stood up. He bent over so that we'd catch his meaning, tapping the face of his watch as he looked at us. We took the hint. The soulful, haunting music followed us out the door, floating around us like a ghost as we loaded back into the Cadillac. Mike put it in drive and turned around in the parking lot to head out, dust clouds flying as our headlights illuminated the asphalt. The music stayed with me as we headed back over the tracks, to the highway, to home.